Right, good evening, everyone. So good to be here. Thank you, Favor Discovery, for this awesome privilege. Okay, I'm Rebecca Onzurike. I'm a kids mindset coach. I support kids with special needs. I've been working with children for over 20 years now. And I'm the CEO and founder of Ruby Impact Children's Global Foundation. I'm so pleased and excited to be here today, celebrating the girl child. All right, today we're doing equipping the dyslexic for digital literacy, equipping the dyslexic for digital literacy. Take a look, and I don't know if you could imagine this in your mind. Imagine that child that has been sent out of the class. She's standing by the hallway. She doesn't seem to understand what the problem is because she's frustrated. She's tired of life. She doesn't know what to do anymore. I mean, she's putting in all the effort, but there is nothing to show. I mean, she's trying her best to read. She's trying her best to write, but it doesn't seem to work out. I mean, has anyone ever told you as a kid that you are not good enough? Just imagine that scenario. I don't know if you've ever experienced that as a child. Someone telling you that you're not good enough, you're not clever enough. I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen to anyone. Look at Whoopi Goldberg. Here's a woman who I just talked about her story briefly. When she was 4 years old, that was where this whole problem started. She couldn't read, she couldn't write, she was struggling through school, she didn't know what was wrong. Everybody was trying their best. The teachers were putting in all the effort, burning the candles, and it wasn't just working. She struggled all through her career. But here she is today. Who doesn't know Whoopi Goldberg? I mean, she's got so many awards in the entertainment industry. Now, looking at the feelings of the dyslexic girl child, like I asked earlier, has anyone ever told you as a child that you were not good enough? I mean, look at the board, for example. The dyslexic child looks at the board, he's trying to copy the notes, and he's wondering, what am I seeing? I've taught a couple of dyslexic children, and they keep having the same challenge. You tell them to copy what's on the board or to read from a text, and they tell you, please excuse me, Miss Rebecca, the words are flying. And you're wondering, how? I don't understand. They tell you the words are flying, they're confusing similar letters, they're facing this constant failure. They are trying their best, they're putting in the effort, but it doesn't just seem to be working. There's this shame they are living with, and they're wondering, wow, everybody in the class can read, everybody in the class can write, but I can't write. I mean, they live with this constant shame as a girl child. And they're wondering, what's going on with me? Am I normal? They have this constant anxiety, depression. And most of the times, I know there's a child who ended up committing suicide because of the shame. He couldn't just take it anymore. And that was how the child ended his life. Now, when we talk about dyslexia, we're talking about the inability to read properly because of the way the brain processes and interprets graphic symbols. I mean, that's how they're wired. But that's just what we see it as on the outside. But within the brain of the child, something is going on. Their wiring is somehow different because their axons, there's something they call axons in the brain. Their axons are spaced, their axons are longer. So because of that, they don't process information the way the normal brain does. They see informations, yes, but they blend it into a narrative that makes sense only to them in their own way. So others don't seem to understand, but why is this child not getting this? What's going on? Why the struggle? They see the bigger picture. They don't see details. They're not interested in the details. Their brain doesn't really process that. They connect to ideas effectively and find phonetic coding very, very difficult. That's why they confuse letters that are similar. 20% of the world's population are dyslexic, and they don't even know it. Like Whoopi Goldberg, she never knew she was dyslexic until she was an adult. You can imagine, someone is suffering from something and doesn't even know what is going on. Statistics show that 25% of school dropouts are dyslexic. Can you imagine that? 25% of school dropouts are dyslexic. I was surprised when I came about this figure. 50% of people who have dyslexia going to drugs, going to alcohol, 80% going to juvenile delinquencies. They're all dyslexic. Can you imagine? 1 billion people in the world are illiterate. 1 billion people in the world are illiterate. A 7% of the world's population are illiterate. Can you imagine that? That's the need for us to cure illiteracy in the world today. There's an illiteracy pandemic, and that's what's eating deep into the society. Kids who are unable to read in their 4th grade have only about 78% chance of never being able to read again. Can you imagine that? So if the dyslexic girl child is not helped now, before they get to the 4th grade, there's a likelihood they may never read again. And you know what happens when they remain illiterate? The vaccine. The world is thinking about heart diseases, cancer. They're looking at how to fight these diseases, prevent them. But we forget the worst of all diseases. It's illiteracy. Illiteracy is worse than a pandemic, honestly. Literacy is the cure to hunger. Literacy is the cure to poverty. Literacy is the cure to crime. All these things we are saying, crime here and there. Literacy is what solves it all. Literacy will give people jobs. They will create jobs. They will provide jobs, not only for themselves, but for others, if only they are literate. So it will cure unemployment. Now, the need for an early intervention. The dyslexic child. Look at her, the dyslexic girl child. We need an early intervention. Remember, we said that the 4th grade, once these children are not helped before 4th grade, 78% they may never read again. So they need an early, timely intervention to help them because the dyslexic child needs this empowerment to harness their potentials because they have advantages as a dyslexic girl child. And they need to be able to know how to harness these advantages, these potentials in this digital age. So that's why we need to give these children empowerment to be able to come out and make a difference in the world before the cement of their personality solidifies. I work with children with special needs and I support kids because I'm a kids mindset coach. It's easier, I've discovered it's easier to create change in children who are just from 0 to about 7 years old. Once it is 7 years old, it's sealed. It takes a lot of time to initiate change. Now, the advantage of the dyslexic child, as a result of the way the brain of the dyslexic girl child processes and interprets information, the dyslexic girl child naturally possesses the 21st century skill termed creativity. Wow. They have an advantage. They are very, very creative due to their unique ability to visualize. They can see things you don't see. They can create images in their minds. That's one of their superpowers. The dyslexic girl child is a dynamic achiever. 40% of self-billionaires around the world are dyslexic. Wow, look at Grant Cardone. I don't know if you've heard about Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone suffered from dyslexic to an extent. I mean, he had other disabilities, learning disabilities. He had dyslexia. But look at him today. He's a multi-billionaire. I mean, look at this. He was dyslexic. We have 25% of entrepreneurs. They are all dyslexic. Can you imagine this? 35% good of entrepreneurs are dyslexic, like Steve Jobs. The dyslexic love calculations. The dyslexic child, they love calculations. I had a child I worked with at one time. This child didn't know how to read, didn't know how to write. It was a big fight, a big challenge, and a struggle for the child. But once you bring up a calculation, something you have to think about, calculate, and generate solutions, the child just gives you the answer. I'm wondering, wow, how did the child know this? So they are very good with calculations and they make great engineers. Children with dyslexia, they're very good architectures when they grow. They're very good in architecture because of the visualization. They end up as artists. For example, Tom Cruise, he had dyslexia to an extent. He couldn't read, he couldn't write. I mean, to an extent, this was so embarrassing. When he was even given his first role to act a movie, It almost disqualified him. They told him, man, if you can't get to read the scripts, then there's no way you can be an actor. What did he do? He started using his power to visualize. He got someone to read the scripts, and then he created an image of it in his mind. There's a child I coached then. This child will pretend that he knows how to read, but really did not know how to read. What he does is he listens to the same passage others are reading, then he will create a picture in his mind and then start telling you exactly the story. And you'll be wondering, oh, is he reading? No, but when you check what he's reading, it's not exactly what is there. But because he was able to create pictures of what you're talking about in his mind, he could understand. So that's one of the superpowers that Tom Cruise used to overcome. Now, people who are dyslexic make good scientists. Wow, they think out of the box. They are sharp. They are smart. It's true, they can't read very well, but they have this superpower to be able to think out of the box. Look at Albert Einstein. Look at Thomas Edison. Today, go to the NASA scientists. 1 out of every 2 NASA scientists is dyslexic. You can imagine this. I mean, early intervention starts for dyslexic girl child. We need to catch them young. We need to intervene young, especially in this digital age. We need to catch them young. We don't need to sit down until they're adults and their personality is cemented and there's nothing we can do again. So we need to give them early intervention, empower them early by exposing them to cognitive skills that the brain uses to think, to read, to learn, to remember, to reason, to pay attention. That's where they thrive. So we need to expose them to cognitive skills. Another one is to minimize text. Can you imagine this text on the screen? Look at the way a dyslexic child sees the text. You write on the board or he's given to him in a book. This is the way he sees it. Can you read it? I mean, you're seeing the screen now. Can you read it? That's how they see it. That's why it's difficult for them to read because of the way their brain interprets and processes graphic information. So we can use more of pictorials. Pictorials help children with dyslexia. We can help the dyslexia girl child with pictorials. Try to portray what you're saying more with pictorials. Use diagrams, use videos, use audios. That's how to deliver instructions to them and make it stick. Can you see we can also use multicolored texts when we are treating instructions, delivering instructions to children with dyslexia. It helps them to differentiate and helps them to blend the information. All right, let's look at the next one, brain integration, exercise, and therapy. Brain integration, exercise, and therapies also help children with special needs, especially those with dyslexia. I mean, the visual aids is very, very effective. I've used this for over 5 years with children with dyslexia. I've seen a lot of difference. I mean, the brain integration exercises, they help to team the corpus callosum at the center of the brain that demarcates the left brain from the right brain. It teams it, all these brain exercises, brain integration exercises, so that the left brain and right brain is a mirror image of whatever the child is trying to process. So it makes processing easier for them. I've used this method for children with dyslexia. I've seen them go from not being able to even write their names to start writing their names, to copying text, to reading passages. It works like magic. The ball press, putting the ball in between your 2 knees and pressing it down. The brain Kindle is another powerful brain integration exercise that helps children with dyslexia. So the earlier we introduce these things to them, the easier it becomes for them to be able to read and to write. Now we need to encourage the girl child to quit focusing on her limitations and imperfections. We need to encourage the girl child. You know, you need to see children that this girl child that has dyslexia, they're always discouraged, they're always ashamed. They don't want to. I remember the story of Annie. Annie was an orphan, and Annie was adopted by a very wealthy multi-billionaire at the end of the day. She was happy. But one day, this multi-billionaire decided to put her on stage and gave her the speech that he wanted to read before the crowd. She kept crying and she ran away in shame. Can you imagine? What was the problem? She couldn't read. So when I'm coaching children with dyslexia, the special needs, all I tell them is they keep displaying this frustration that, why am I not able to do what others can do? What do I do? What's going on with me? Something wrong with me? I keep telling them, focus on your strengths. You say, but I can't write now. Yes, you can't write now, but you're making progress. At least now you can write your name. At least now you can blend this 3-letter word. Show them that they are making progress. Let's encourage them to keep focusing on the limitation. And then stop focusing on the imperfections. Okay? It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Thank you very, very much.
Over there in the dark white corner, 6 out of every 10 children are sexually abused around the world before the age of 18. And they can't even tell anyone about it, meaning nobody's going to do anything about it. Yet the numbers are rising every day. Statistics show that in the year 2019, over 1,840 kids died as a result of sexual abuse. Believe me when I say this, that today, the rate of child sexual abuse and harassment is drastically increasing around the world, meaning that something has got to be done for our children. We can't just keep quiet and fold our arms and pretend like nothing is going on. We need to rise up for our children. We need to do something for them. We need to make change happen for them. And this is why we're calling on educators, we're calling on all teachers, we're calling on all parents and guardians and caregivers around the world to please join us. Join us as we rise for our children. Join us as we rise to fight child sexual abuse around the world. Please do join us in our free training taking place on November the 19th, 2021. We look forward to see you as we arm you with the best way to give sex education to children, and most especially for kids with special needs. The children are our future. If we do nothing about this, then we have no future. We need to rise up for them. We need to do something for them. We need to arm them against sexual child abuse. Please do join us. You're going to be given free videos. We're going to be giving you free books for in-depth knowledge on the course. And then, with just a little token, please do join us. Help us to make this happen for our children. Click on the link below to register and to access the books. Thank you.